It's so nice to be here. Thank you for having me. I'm very excited to be in Boston. Boston is near and dear to my heart. I went to Boston College, so whenever I get a chance to be back here, it's great. Boston College is also where I was introduced to this profession called human resources. So first, Sophia did a great job of introducing WorldQuant. But first I would say one of the most interesting things to me as an HR professional about working at WorldQuant is the fact that our 650 plus employees are spread out all over the world. So that comes with a ton of opportunities, lots of challenges. Our founder, Igor Chelchinsky, he operates on this belief that talent is everywhere, but opportunity is not. So what he did when he was creating this vision for WorldQuant is that he set out to build a company that would bring opportunity to places where there is talent. So that's how we kind of grown to where we are. WorldQuant's also a company that's passionate about education. And I respect that because I feel like it's my educational background that is directly allowing me to be here today talking about what I do. As I mentioned, I went to Boston College. I remember when I was researching colleges with my dad had been an immigrant. He immigrated from Cuba in the 1950s. He didn't have the opportunity to go to college, although education was really important to him. So when we were looking at colleges, Boston College certainly stood out for its strong education program, but also its philanthropic efforts. And I was looking in the major, the course catalogs, and looking at majors, and I was looking at the School of Management, and I thought to myself, I probably should do something business related. It's probably a good idea. And I saw this major, a brand new major, for the first time, human resources management. And I thought, well, I like people, and this leads to a bachelor in science, so you know what? And I'll probably change my major like 5 times anyway, so it doesn't really matter what I pick. But I didn't change my major. I graduated with a degree in human resources management, and I kind of pursued this profession, right from the start. I've been working for about 18 years now. So I thought I'd share with you some of my observations about, being a woman and working in the financial services industry, and really working with people. I spent a lot of time speaking with students and speaking with, candidates who are looking to grow and achieve new things in their career. And I'm really lucky that I had the opportunity to work with a lot of strong mentors, early on in my career, because I feel like it's really shaped the advice and the guidance that I'm able to give at this stage of my career. I recall the person that I learned pretty much everything, all the ins and outs of human resources was my boss at Credit Suisse when I first entered the industry. He was a male. He was from the South. He was an opera singer. He was a world traveler. He was so different from me, and I look back and it was such a wonderful and diverse way to really get my first exposure to human resources and to financial services. And I've been fortunate enough to have lots of different people, men and women, at all different levels of experience that I've been able to learn from. So when I'm meeting with students and people who are entering their careers, they usually ask me, well, what's the best piece of advice that you've ever gotten? And 2 things always stand out, and I think they probably stand out to me because of my line of work. The first thing is that we owe people honesty. So whatever the situation is, if you think that way and you're trying to navigate something that's challenging, be honest, and that usually gets you to the right place. The second is how do you make people better? That's the thing you should always be asking yourself. How do you improve people? How do you get them excited about what you're doing? But if someone's struggling with something, and I think one of the presenters said it earlier today, she said it really well, it's like maybe they're not in the right spot. And how do you fix that? How can you make them better? And I feel like, again, that's another piece of advice that I just apply all the time. And it usually just allows me to think about what to do, when I'm faced with something that I'm struggling with. And then people always ask me about, well, what's the best advice you give, or that I think I give? And the first is, don't sell yourself short. And that was advice that I kind of was able to give early on in my career. I remember when I was doing some campus recruiting, and I was interviewing a student at Cornell, and she wanted to be an investment banker, and she was spent some time talking to me about her resume, her past internship, her classes, and then I just asked her a question about a summer that she didn't have on there, and she's like, "Oh, I just worked in a law firm office. It was not really relevant." I'm like, "Well, what'd you learn?" And she's like, I learned what it's like working in an office. I learned, how to write professional emails. I learned, that's important to get there on time. I learned about commitment." And I said, "Well, you learned a lot." And I said, "I have to say, the last guy that I just interviewed, when I asked him what he learned at his internship working in a bank, he said he didn't really learn anything." So right off the bat, you just, set yourself apart. So don't sell yourself short. Keep these things in mind. And the second piece of advice that I give, and this is advice I've given more recently, like later on in my career, I think as a mom and more seasoned, is you make it work. And it's hard. I agree with all the other presenters up here who are talking about, balancing the priorities at work and at home. But there are ways to make it work, and you do figure it out. Recently I was speaking with a female researcher from our Mumbai office, and she was on maternity leave, and she asked to have a call with me. And I don't know, I assumed that it was going to be something process related, something related to her leave or mechanics around that. And she just basically asked me, how do you make it work? How are you a working mom? And I said to her, there are ways to do it. You plan, you organize, you plan some more, you prioritize, you ask people for advice. But there are ways, and I wanted to, try to be encouraging to her that if if she did want to, in her career and her life, to both be a mom and being at work, that I could be a sounding board, and there are ways to do it, and and it's okay that we say that it's hard to do it, but the most important thing is to recognize that we can achieve it. And then the other thing that people tend to ask me is, why do I work? And I say, because I do enjoy what I do. I really do like the people side of the business. I think that the trends are positive. I think that things are moving in the right direction when it comes to, the changing roles of women in the workforce. I know as our company is, committed to not only attracting more women to the industry, but really thinking about ways to promote more women into leadership roles. And I think that's really important, and I really respect that. And I also think that being in human resources, I am able to be in a position where I'm kind of participating in and part of this change that's going on, which is, it's rewarding. It feels important, even though it's small, it definitely feels important. And I think that if I can be part of the change that will one day affect my young son and daughter when they enter the workforce, well, that's great. I really can't ask for more. So I really appreciate being here today, and thank you so much.